Okay. Okay. I think I'm ready. I am the Worm, and this is Raging Loop. Last time, it was officially go time. We had our first gathering, and it went to an immediate conflict of wills here. We've got Haruaki, we've got Kanzo, we've got Yasunaga. Those are the main three big... those are the biggest wills, I would say. But, let's not leave out the others. Takumi, he had some stuff to say. Misato's always going to have something to say. It was just all around a pretty... Chemi had a big moment last time. It was a lot. And I think I was just sort of enthralled in the scene for a while. So let's talk about it a bit before moving on, because I didn't really get a chance to at the end of last time. Let me see. I wrote some quick notes at the time. So obviously a big thing of this time is the fact that we have Kanzo. Basically, his position this time, before it was, what would it have been? The spider last time, I think, is what Haruaki said. Did he say that? Let me see if he wrote that down. Yeah. Haruaki thinks that Kanzo last time was probably spider, and because of that, he was a lot less willing to speak up. But now, as he is the monkey, and was very likely going to reveal that information anyway, he feels much more comfortable trying to take charge. And so we get to see what Kanzo is normally like. So he is indeed one of the monkeys, along with Yasunaga, which is very interesting to me. The fact that we have two of the largest wills are innocent this time around. Kanzo was innocent last time, but he wasn't in a position to, assert himself. So that's very interesting. It makes me very curious as to who the wolves are this time, the three of them. So we also got some information that Kanzo was likely here for this mysterious past feast. The one that we heard from this sort of mist-based incident where we had these workers die that led to the worksite being abandoned. We learned that Tai-san was not here for that. She was apparently teaching in Kama Fujiyoshi. But Kanzo was apparently here. So remember, Haruaki has been wondering about, well, if there was a feast previously, then there must be people here who are totally, well, not totally, but who are at least okay with the idea of, killing other people. And so it would seem that Kanzo is one of these people. Now, that doesn't tell us who else was involved, but it's certainly an interesting data point that he was right in the center of the last incident. And it seems to be why he's so commanding, because he's experienced in this. And that was part of his strategy, to show that it's not just that he has a powerful personality and wants to be in command. He does have experience, because he was able to, he realized we don't have much information on the first night. So his strategy was to pick an outsider, which of the two, Mamiya and Haruaki, he seems to have an aversion to wanting to kill women, so he decided to pick Haruaki and asked him if he would be their sacrifice. And as Haruaki explained it, he did this because we don't really have a big connection with anyone. It would be an easy target that they can then use for more information. And now, of course, Haruaki has a guardian himself, so that would be a very bad decision. But it shows that, Kanzo is thinking about this. He's not just picking Haruaki for no reason. So, having both Yasunaga and Kanzo on the same side and making plays is pretty interesting so far. What else did we get? We talked a bit about Fujiyoshi's original sin of killing the wolves, yada yada. The Okami-sama protected humans, but also ate them and also forbade fire, which is something we heard about in Kame Fujiyoshi. And we also learned, we got specifics from Tai-san about how the other guardians were able to kill the Okami. They got them drunk and then pushed or tricked them into the Saranaga, which, as we know, is seen as kind of the border to Yomi. So they got sent there, and now they come back every so often for revenge. Or, if not revenge, for some obscure reason we're not entirely sure about yet. Let's see, what else? Mamiya-san was told off for taking notes. The standing stones we see around the village are called okiba. Rikako said that might mean that they were a place for kindling. The three wolves are actually a two-parent and child group. Fujiyoshi might be depending on Yasumizu for protection against the wolves. That is, the people might be sacrifices in a way. Let's see, what else? Chiemi had a big moment where she offered herself as sacrifice, which is quite interesting. Obviously, Haruaki's not going to like that. We want to... This is the big issue here, because as Haruaki, we want to finish this, and we want to finish it with as few dead as possible. So we're gonna have to hang some people and maybe sacrifice a few others. But I know for a fact he's not gonna be wanting to sacrifice Chiemi. So it puts us in a tough position here. Luckily, Haruaki was able to convince Kanzo to not kill himself. Haruaki made a promise that he'd be able to give information. He kept it vague, though, because he doesn't want to reveal his guardian yet. And he also was able to get Mamiya a stay of execution, if you want to call it that, because she didn't know about the whole check your stomach for a guardian message. So the fact that she didn't get an opportunity to check has allowed her a free night, essentially. The villagers will not vote for her. Yeah. So that was a lot of the big stuff, I think. I don't think I'm forgetting anything that major. We've decided on popular vote again for the choosing of the wolves. And I think that's where we left off. So, so I think we'll probably finish up the gathering today and see where that takes us. I don't know who's going to get voted, if at all, because in the last main route we did see that there were nights where no one was voted for, so that is a possibility. We just gotta see where this takes us. Drink some water there. Okay, let's do this, shall we? There was place for storage deeper inside the hall. That was probably where the sake and cup were kept. The inkstone case they kept there had a fresh paper inside, And, by Kanzo-san's command, Rokako-san began writing down what she had to.
久石君、
なんでしょう。
Am I recording? It's a good question. It looks like I am. Okay.
お酒や文具が準備してあるということは、こうなることが何者かによって想定されていたってことよね。
We were having some, in the comments, talk about who we think the wolves are, and I think, oh man, it's really tough. Who was I chatting with specifically on this? Where was it? It was with Lise. We were talking about how, well, we're thinking Ty is probably excluded. But that's more of a sort of meta-analysis there, considering that she was a wolf already. So, my thought is that, you know, if this were, if you want to put it in the perspective of a game, technically speaking, the same person could get the same role twice. The question is, does this story want to do that, you know? So, because, you know, I don't, we still don't know the mysterious looping phenomenon that's going on here. So, like, is whatever mystical entity, or I don't know, what Shinai-sama, whoever it is, whatever mystical entity is responsible for this, are they keeping track? You know, are they aware that Tai-san was already a wolf and thus they choose someone else? I don't know, but just speaking from a meta perspective, I would concur that it probably means Tai-san is less likely to be a wolf. And it's weird, I don't, thinking about it more now, I don't think Mamiya-san would be a wolf. Even though, technically speaking, there's nothing that's stopping her from being a wolf or guardian, because we know our boy, Haruaki, has a guardian. So she could have a guardian or be a wolf. It's just, like, we know that the wolves are chosen. When they're chosen, they get the supposed true story, and that's what motivates them to, you know, commit murder. So the weird thing, though, is that if Mamiya was chosen as a wolf, or Haruaki for that matter, they would, what would it get? What would it be? They get a vision in their dream telling them to do this, but the thing is, they don't have a connection to the rest of the village. Let's forget about Haruaki looping in his, you know, previous adventures for a second. Just as an outsider, they don't have this connection. So how would that be convincing for Mamiya, you know, to kill people? Like, she's obviously shell-shocked from Hashimoto-san's death. Well, I guess that could be a motivation. If she blames the villagers for Hashimoto-san's death, that could lead her to accept the role of a wolf, I suppose. So maybe I'm off base there. Although that still strikes me as extreme. I think Haruaki in the past has talked about how, you know, it's the unique culture that Yasumizu has that kind of allows this whole plot to work, because they're convinced by the stories. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue. Sorry for that aside there.
ですね。藩士だって何十年も前の古いものとは思えませんし、水だって腐ってないなら。
だったらやっぱりこれは人間が仕組んだ茶番ってことじゃないの？ この建物は神内権現の社です。年に2度の山祭りの時に上富士吉の4家から奉納を受けます。たくさんのおみきに書物道具に荒縄の束に草刈り鎌、大昔から変わらぬ品目と聞いております。つまりこれは今回だけのために用意されたものじゃないけれど、長者4家はこれが実際に使われるということは知っていたということになるわね。
私は知らんぞ。
私も樋口に嫁入りして1年近くはいたけれど、そんな話は。実はそういう事情があってね。
そうだったんですね。
まあ僕も一瞬そういう感じだったけど聞いたことないな。
お前には伝えんだろう、たとえ秘密があったところで。
おっちゃんに言われたくないな。
結構複雑なんだな。
私も奉納の品を本当に使うことがあるとは存じ上げませんでした。身車だけが知る何かがあるのかもしれません。あるいは長者の中でもごく一部が。
It's still odd to me that we don't know any Migurumas yet. At least that we know of.
嘘ばっか言ってんじゃねえぞ。てめえ上松で一番偉いんだろうがよ。よしを各邪魔をすな。なんだじじい、やんのか。
よし、ちった頭冷やせ。
匠にいいのかよ、腰抜け。
おやっさん、しかしよしの気持ちもわかるぜ。間宮の言う通り、長者の誰かは俺らがこうなることを知りながら効能とか言って善人面してたわけだ。
This goes back to the idea mentioned last time, where for the sake of Kama Fujiyoshi, Yasumizu is like a sort of sacrifice, basically, a first line of defense. So I guess that sort of leads to more of that.
上松、本当に何も知らねえのか。いっそ言った方が俺らも納得できんぞ。
私はただ予感がしただけです。神様のよみがえりが近いと。
God? Could you elaborate, please? Sudden loud noises. They were caused by Chiemi and Haru-chan.
嘘だ。
Uh-oh. Yeah, there was the whole deal where we had, you know, a crazy mystical entity pop up behind us and say some, you know, freaky stuff. Is that just Chiemi and Haru who see that, or is that a... or what? We never got an explanation for that.
だっていやでもやっぱり神様は
What?
春。
Wait. Are you saying... Okay. We did say... this is a little while back now. I don't know if I said it at the time, but I certainly said it an episode or two later, I think. Definitely at the end of the first route when we were talking about... I think it was in the the episode where I had finished. I had completely finished the first route and got to the end of where the game tells you to stop. You know, if you're streaming or recording this. And then I did a video talking about just the game in general. I know I talked about it there, and I think I mentioned it other places, once or twice. Not like all the time, but there was the idea that, you know, I was talking about. Let's try to think of this. You know, say it's completely man-made. You know, there's not. If we're trying to go at that angle, how could we explain these sorts of things? And so, you know, I said stuff like, you know, Chiemi had a flesh-eating virus. The werewolf we saw, it was Takumi in a fursuit, you know, werewolf costume. And then the other thing I said was that strange entity we saw, there was really only one person it could have been, if it was anyone, just based on the build and that was Haru. So I'm not sure what conclusion to draw to this, but Haru's making some weird noises now, so let's see what happens here. The sudden burst of happenings was too much for me to keep up with. Haru Makishima suddenly started laughing out loud. Kanzo Shi's face paled right before he ran over to her. Everyone else just stared at them dumbfounded.
Harune, まさかまた
Again?
治ったはずじゃ。
Okay, this is all new.
はるちゃんしっかり
ドカンか近持ちくそ野里のなんかわからんのか
だから昔も言ったはずですがね、精神疾患の類はこんな場所では回遊を望むべくもないと。
私が。
孫に触るな
Menacing and pushing everyone away, Kanzo-san embraced Haru-chan tight.
ハル落ち着け落ち着けわしはここにおる
I had no idea what was happening. God was sort of like a keyword. No idea why, but last time it had a profound effect on Chiemi. It worked on Haru-chan too. Huh.
何を聞いた
It actually happened before. Was it different from Okami-sama and Shinai-sama? We've talked about that too. I remember asking that at the time, you know. Because they don't say Shinai-sama, they say just God. Okami, wolf. Come to think of it, in addition to wolf, Okami could also mean great god. Was that significant? This is where we get some. It'd probably be helpful to know Japanese or to be Japanese so that you don't miss out on some of this context.
狼が来るじじい今はやめろ
匠さん、乱暴はやめて。
ナムシ内大権限ナムシ内大権限
Man, things were getting out of hand. Still, Haru-chan eventually calmed down and, albeit still delirious, began talking normally.
私。何？貧血？倒れた？
おとなしゅうしとけ
おじいちゃん。
By the way, Chiemi too had long since recovered, and she was now acting like nothing had happened. Why were they so ready to accept the feast itself when they freaked out like normal people over their own family and fellow villagers acting so weird? I could understand being scared of monsters. And curses too, for that matter. But they also had the insanity to hang their own mothers and accept being hanged by the ones they loved. It was something straight out of hell. Just how many times would I have to see this kind of thing before I understood it all?
書き終えております。
もう少ししたら再開する。
The climax was drawing near. Rokako-san had written a list of all the people participating in the Feast of the Yomi Purge. The penmanship was nice, and the order was proper. It felt kind of like a petition or something.
上座の門から順に票を取る。植松のは誰が誰に入れたか記せ。千恵美、安永、植松のがちゃんと書くか見張れ。
わかった。
わかりました。
間宮様と夫妻子様は投票しない方針なのですね。
わしはそうするが、他の門は思うようにせ。
まあそうでしょうな。先ほどの彼らの主張をどう思うか各々が判断し、同意するなら票を投じる。民主主義のあるべき姿だ。
おっちゃん、はるちゃんのじっちゃんの金魚の糞になったのか。
私は正しいと思うことをするまでだ。さあ始めていただこうか。
今から殺す人を選ぶのにどんなテンションなんだか。
狼様はくくらねばならんわよ。
おかしいわ。こんなのれっきとした犯罪よ。
Hisako-san was very normal. I like that. However, I didn't think it'd help her survive for long.
じじい、誰にする？
I had no idea if he understood the situation, but he did point at someone. Specifically me.
な、
わりゃ、狼か。
リカコさん、彼に一票を。
Okay, I feel like, you know, keep your, if you're following along with me, you know, keep this in mind. I think these votes are going to be somewhat important.
はい。
やっぱりおかしいわよ。こんないい加減な決定権を全員が持ってるなんて。
わからんなら黙っとけ。
何よ、じゃあ説明してくださいよ。
間宮さん、僕らは全員一票を持たなきゃならないんです。なぜなら票の剥奪権が存在すれば狼に悪用されかねないから。何らかの理由をつけて投票権を奪えるならいくらでも暗躍の余地が出るし、そもそも多分あなたに不利に働きます。
よそ者に投票権を持たせたくないって考えの人いっぱいいるだろうしね。
Chimmy grumbled, while some others gave disgruntled frowns.
あなたには申し訳ない話ですが、僕らは安水を異変から守るために命を懸けることを避けられない。あなたは生き残りたいでしょうが、それは狼の態度でもある。人ならばくくられることを拒んではならないんですよ。もしあなたが加護者じゃないならね。
これ終わったらすぐに見るわよ。
結構。ではお次。
わしはてめえに入れる。植松の。
So that was his choice, huh?
理由を伺ってもよろしいでしょうか。
特にね。
特に不思議はないでしょう。勘蔵さんは現時点ではみんな等しく怪しいと思っていて、一人の犠牲が欲しいだけだ。夫妻子さんと間宮さんをくくらないなら、安水の者にとって一番くくりやすいのが植松さんかあなたですよ、野里さん。
Basically the people who are liked the least in the village.
どいつもこいつも。
わかりました。票はお受けします。
やれやれ。次、ばあちゃんだぜ。
あたしはようわからんが、カンちゃんがあの子らに入れんのならそれに従おうかね。 それでカンちゃんとヤスくんも狼様じゃないんだわよね。
そう信じるのは妥当でしょうな。
じゃあ私はヨシくんに入れようかね。
は？なんでだよクソババ。
そうやって乱暴にしてお母さんの言うことも聞かんと汚れを呼び込んだんじゃないんかね。
そんな理由かよ。わかったぜ。てめえが狼だな。気に入らねえもんただ殺したいだけの狼野郎。
さて次は俺か。メイコに入れる。
Ooh. I guess technically she is an outsider that's fair game.
村様。
この時期にこうやってやってきて身元もわからねえっつうのはやっぱり怪しいぜ。
でもこんなちっちゃな子を。
わかってるが、じゃあどうすんだ。もし本当にこいつが狼なら。
Yeah, I actually, fair enough. I have a similar question. It seemed like he had a point at first glance, but...
言っておくが、化け物を認めるわけじゃねえ。ただ、そういうルールに従わないと死ぬ状況はマジかもしれん。心配するな。くくるときには俺だけでやる。
Wow. Stone cold.
以上。次、香織さんだ。
安永、危険はできないのかしら。
母さん、それは良くない。人はこの場しか狼に対抗する手段を持たないんだ。わざわざ危険しようとする人は狼に組みするものと見られても仕方がない。
じゃああなたは誰にするつもり？
事前に宣言してもいいものですか？
好きにせえ。
僕は野里さんに入れるつもりです。
なんだって。
まだ誰も怪しくはないという点には勘蔵さんに同意します。そして長者が何かしら知っているという点においては清之助さん、あなたは疑うに値する。同様のことが植松さんにも言えますが、彼女は3年前から休みずに住んでいて、あなたはついこの前に戻ってきた。今回のことを知っているかもしれないと疑う理由はなくはない。その程度です。こだわりはしません。
なるほど。安水の上藤吉への恨みは核も骨髄に達しているというわけだな。私も認識を改める必要がありそうだ。
それなら私も野里さんに。
そうなるでしょうな、流れ的には。まああなたの家族については分かろうというものですがね。私をくくっても一日無駄にするだけだ。そこは皆様重々ご留意を。私の番か。私は新入りの彼に一票入れるとしよう。
Seriously?
おっちゃん、じいちゃんの金魚の糞やめたのか。
誰もそんなもの最初からやってないがね。私は彼の言動が嘘をつかなくて済む方法で生き残ろうとしているのだと見た。10割の自信があるわけではないが、それでもこの場で唯一怪しいと言えるのは生き残りたい理由説明が弱かった彼だ。
誰だって生き残りたいでしょうが。まだ来られて一日の春秋様にそこまでお求めになるのは国というものでは。
何とでも言えばよろしい。私からは以上だ。
Unfortunately for me, he did have a point.
僕はもう言った。次、モッチー。
おっちゃんに一票。
What?
貴様もか近持ち。
Oh, sorry. Confused.
だってこっから先はりっちゃんかおっちゃんに票が入りそうなんだよね。
Yeah, that's where it seems to be heading.
りっちゃん女の子だし、そしたらおっちゃん頑張れよって思ってさ。
And they say chivalry is dead.
近持様。
リカ子さんを守ることに依存はないが、それとこれとは別の話ではないかね。
じゃ、おっちゃんに入れそうな筆頭ヨッシーの番。
植松に1票。
あら、
俺はそこのバカ病態よりこっちの女の方が怪しいと思うからこっちに入れる。まあ本当はどっかのクソババアに入れてえところだけどよ、確実に一人やるのが大事だろ今よ。次知恵ねえもそうしろよ。
私よし君に投票する。
Ooh.
はあ、待てよ、なんでそんな。はあ、
Things have been spicy for a while now, but it's really getting spicy up in here.
よし君、もし君が狼じゃないならそうやってあんまり目上の人たちばかり目の敵にしない方がいい。狼が上藤吉の人やお年寄りばっかだって保証はないんだよ。君じゃないって保証もね。野里さんの言ってることには9割反対だけど、これだけは賛成する。君じゃなくてほしいけど、私の1票は君に冷静になってもらうために使うね。
そんなんありかよ。
義継、どうかおとなしくして。皆様もどうかどうか。
大丈夫だって。ヨシ君はそうそう死なないよ。次、はるちゃん。
そこのなんとかさんに。
She pointed at me.
まあ仕方ないね、怪しく見えるのは。
春明様、
リカ子さんの番だよ。
私自身に投票いたします。
Ooh. What?
おやっさん、ありか。
禁じられてはおるまい。耐えば。
聞いたこともありませんがね。まあ禁じちゃないかね。ええ。
リカ子さん、私があんなこと言ったからってそんな無理しなくてもいいってば。
いえ、私はさっきの芹沢様の素晴らしい自己犠牲の精神に心を打たれ、私のこの場の役目が皆様の憎しみを引き取るということなのかもしれないと、投票先に迷ったらどうか私にお入れください。どうか幼すぎるこの子には入れないでやってください。
What was I supposed to do with this?
メイコ、どなたか一人くくられるべき人を選んで。
お姉ちゃん、
てめえガキ。
お姉ちゃんに意地悪しちゃダメ。次、春明さんだよ。
Ooh. Kinosuke-shi, Yoshitsugu-kun, Rikako-san, and I had 3 votes each, while Meiko-chan had just 1.
最大得票者が複数人いたら決選投票ですか。
うん。それらを除いた他のもんで投票する。
Well, well. The suspects who'd go up to the next round would lose their right to vote, huh? That was something. But if that was how it worked, then...
その決選投票で票が完全に割れてしまったら。
それが皆の意なら誰もくくられん。
Well, that was interesting. They'd go for a final vote by limiting the suspects and giving the voting right only to the rest. And if there were several in the limited group who received majority votes, And if there were several in the limited group who received majority votes too, they could vote again. But if there was completely perfect split among them all, then they couldn't cut the numbers down again, nor return back to square one, making it impossible to continue voting. This was actually quite a delicate situation. The ones in the lead were Kinosuke-shi, Yoshitsugu-kun, Yorikako-san, and me, with Meiko just behind us with just 1 vote. Normally thinking, normally thinking I could just vote for one of the other three to make sure I survived. Then, even if Mamiya-san picked me, I wouldn't die right away. There'd only be a final vote, which was dangerous in its own right. However, I didn't feel like voting for Yoshitsugu-kun. His votes were mostly just a punishment for being a brat, so actually killing him would shock everyone present. There was also Kaori-san, who would most likely make a mess of the whole feast again later on. I wanted to avoid that. Then, was I to vote for Kinosuke-shi or Rikako-san? The former seemed like the better choice. He'd voted for me, and he'd probably prefer to die than see Rikako-san hanged. However, he really didn't feel like a wolf to me. Could I really kill him off just because the village heads like him were so resented here?
間宮さん、どうするつもりですか？
聞いてどうするつもり？
正直、この状況で誰かを選ぶということ自体がリスクじゃないかと思って意見を聞きたいだけです。
私は殺人を防ぐわ。可能ならね。
Did she also see it? Did she notice the unlikely but possible way of preventing everyone's lynching?
それは狼を利する行為ですよ。
そんなの知ったことじゃない。ここは日本よ。法治国家よ。あなた方がこうやって犯罪行為を容認するつもりなら、私は自分の良識に従ってそれを止めるわよ。
Her words were just too reasonable.
ぶっちゃけ皆さんの中でも少なくない人がこの展開を狙って投票をしてると思うんですよ。でないとこんなに作為的に平らに票がばらけるはずないんじゃないかと。その状態で人死にを出すことは場の相違に果たして沿ってるのでしょうか。ええ、まあ答えはもらえないですよね。分かってました。
I had to think this through. In most situations, hanging someone was the way to make progress. However, I still had another option, the snake's power. If I didn't use it at least once, there'd be no point in me having it. First and foremost, I had to make it through this day. However, this was a situation without any clear enemies. If we pick someone arbitrarily, wouldn't it be bad for us in the long run? I couldn't help questioning that course of action. Well, there was no point in lying to myself. Honestly, I just really wanted to exploit this loophole in the rules.
悩むならば、名子ではなく、私を。
Rikako-san went and empathized with that. She really didn't have to worry, though. Meiko wouldn't die no matter what happened. Even if the remaining 2 votes went to her, she'd just become another option in the final vote, and the candidates would either be me or one of the village heads. Rikako-san would become a good dumping ground for votes. After all, she voted for herself and suggested that others do the same. She was by far the closest one to death. What she did was pretty much suicide. Did she have suicidal tendencies or something? She did seem a bit dim in certain ways, but not completely simple and idiotic. Huh?
悩むならば、名子ではなく、私を。
Why the emphasis? And why then? Oh. Yeah, I guess I couldn't kill Rikako-san or Meiko after all. That left me with only one answer.
僕はメイコに投票します。
Mamiya-san voted for her too, meaning we had 5 people with 3 votes on them. We would then start a final vote centered around them. There were 15 people here. According to the rules Kanzo-san described, the 5 candidates would lose their votes, so only 10 would get to vote. That made for a very special situation. It was the key to creating a very unlikely situation where no one died. By the time my turn came, there were 4 people with 3 votes. If Mamiya-san gave the votes off to someone else, the final vote would only have 4 options and 11 voters. There was no way to divide them equally. Someone would have more votes, and we'd certainly have a hanging on our hands. It'd be fine if the split turned out to be something like 2-3-3-3, resulting in a final vote, assuming the one who got 2 got his or her vote back. But if it was something like 1-3-4-4, and those who got 4 would be voted on again, you'd either have 13 or 11 voters, an odd number regardless. However, there were 5 suspects and 10 voters now. If the voters were split evenly at 2-2-2-2-2, the voting would be cancelled and no one would be lynched today. Mamiya-san had realized this too. That was why she hadn't hesitated to vote for Meiko. That left us with another problem, though. After all, the sacrifice was as good as decided.
前と同じもんに投票するんでええか。
Ah, crap. Kanzo-san was going for it.
それでも
待って、ちゃんと票を取り直して。
Chami realized it and acted on it.
そうだ、当然だ。でないと私が。リカコさん、結果を見せていただけませんか。
はい、もちろん。
Exactly. He'd realized it too, and looking at the results just confirmed it. Voter, previous vote. Old Wolf Guy, Haruaki, Kanzo, Rikako, Tai, Yoshitsugu, Takumi, Meiko, Kaori, Kyonosuke, Yasunaga Kyonosuke, Chikamochi Kyonosuke, Haru, Haruaki, Hisako, Meiko. Exactly. As things were, I, Yoshitsugu-kun, and Meiko would have 2 votes, Rokako-san would have 1, and Kinosuke-shi would come out on top with 3 votes. Of course, there wouldn't be any problems if the results changed, but...
その必要あんのか。
当然でしょ。肝臓じいちゃん、何のために決選投票をするの？
てめえ、数に合わせて変えるような気で最初の票入れやがったか。
Chami fell silent. She had no rebuttal. The purpose of the final vote was to cut off the minority, those who had the votes, and let the majority votes do the talking. That was why it was impossible to select anyone when the votes were split perfectly, and there were no minorities or majorities. However, here in Yasumizu, where the suspects lost the right to vote, things were a bit different. By simply removing the right to vote, you already had a difference in votes, so it wasn't necessary to vote again, as the minority that should have done that didn't exist. The 10 who could still vote could vote for the same people, so why wouldn't they?
人のために選んでおらんのか、てめえらは。
Those words rang powerfully in the ears of Yasumizu's inhabitants. People had to put their lives on the line for the humans' sake. This isolated society considered that the right thing to do, and voting again was a sin. Who would insist on committing that sin? Especially among the 3 who voted for Kinosuke-shi. Which one of them could change their minds and vote for Rikako Uematsu? There were actually only 2 ways left. Would Mochi change his mind, or not?
まあそうだな。こんなんめったにないだろうしな。面白いもんな。よし、りっちゃんに変えるぞ。
近持ち。
やめろ、おやさん。
Kanzo Makashimashi stood up and clenched his fist, but Takumi-san went after him just in time to stop him.
知ってるだろ。近持ちはこういうやつだ。
それで狼を利するなら人の裏切りもんよ。
それもわかる。わかるがよ。わかるだろ、おやっさんも。なあ。
Everyone here was gloomy and tired. They wanted to end this and leave as soon as possible.
すまねえ。しかし、俺たちの誰も、おやっさんほど覚悟ができてねえんだ。
あたしは、じゃが、カンちゃん。仕方がないわよ。みんなで決めた方法でくくるもんを決めるのが、掟だからね。
わかっとる。後悔しても知らんぞ、てめえら。
Feeling slightly guilty, everyone silently listened to Kanzo-san's words of condemnation. The first day's feast had ended, and I'd actually contributed to the group not killing anyone, something I was completely against last time. Okay, we're going to call it there, I think. Let's see. Yes, we are just about at time. That wrapped up quite well. And yeah, we got to the voting, and that was very interesting, actually. We were able to game the system, essentially, and got it to a point where no one was voted to be hanged. So, my question to all of you is, what do you think? Do you think this was a good strategy? Or do you think we should have gone with someone like Misato? You know, I was half expecting we would actually get a choice here. It's interesting to me that we didn't, but yeah, so essentially we've given the wolves an opportunity to kill someone, you know? They're going to choose tonight, and obviously all the guardians except Crow's not going to get a chance to shine. I really feel sorry for the Crow. They weren't able to do anything last time, and they're not going to be able to do anything this time yet. But so Spider and Snake, they're going to get a chance to do something tonight, as well as the wolves. So next time, we're actually going to have a lot more information going ahead. So yeah, until then, until next time, I want to hear what you guys think of this. Do you think this was the right thing to do? Or do you think that this was just kind of a naive thing that Haruaki and the others have done? Okay, we'll regroup for next time, and we will see the results, the outcome of our decisions here. Hope you're doing well. I've been The Worm, and this has been Raging Loop. See you next time.